coated perfectly. It looks so fresh. Wow.
Out of bounds, ESPN 1059 The Zone. We want to say good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out with us. What did we do? 10 hours of content with Dave Bartu? Is that it? I think it was. I think it was right around 10 hours, counting the 2 hours that we did off the air with Dave Bartu hitting SEC and college football and all the names that you like to talk about: Kiffin, Signetti, Kirby, Golding, Sark, Levy, Summerall. I mean, we ran the gamut. Golly, it was so much fun. Last week was a ton of fun. It was a lot because we were moving around and so on, but holy smokes, it was great. Bartu is on the YouTube channel, 10 hours worth. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Also on Spotify, search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds. But good morning to you. The show is brought to you by the Rack of Lamb in the New York Strip at Kessler Prime in the Renaissance, KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Pair it with some bacon-wrapped shrimp or, those jumbo fried shrimp. Either one of those as a side with your Rack of Lamb or New York Strip. KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Award-winning Elijah Craig Bourbon is the official bourbon of the show. We'll head there on Thursday and spend a few days in Bardstown / Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm looking forward to that. I got to go to the Heaven Hill Distillery, who owns Elijah Craig, and along with Larceny and Heaven Hill Bottled in Bond is an award-winning bourbon too. But our focus is Elijah Craig. And last year I got to go to the Heaven Hill Distillery, and they were just completing a new distillery. I don't remember how much they had spent, but I think it was a couple $100 million. But anyway, the point is, it's a beautiful, beautiful property. The bar, if you go on any kind of bourbon tour and you're in the, Lexington, Louisville, Bardstown area, I highly recommend Heaven Hill. And the bar and restaurant in there is top notch. Like I didn't really have high expectations for it. I mean, I just thought, it'll be just a solid cafe.
Right.
We'll get a burger and move on. No, it's on the second level of their big welcome center, which is all these distilleries have, where, down below on the first floor, you have your merch and kind of tells the story of how it evolved the last 150 years. But when you go to the second floor of Heaven Hill, it's nothing but windows overlooking a beautiful piece of property, which is where they make the bourbon. And the bar and restaurant is great. The bartenders last year were awesome. They do a bunch of craft cocktails and things like that for you too. So it's a ton of fun. There's people moving in and out of there because they're doing tours. We were lucky enough to be able to do, private tastings, which is a ton of fun. And we'll be there again on Thursday and come back on Sunday. So I'll make sure I'll be in Louisville for 2 of those nights. Should I go by and see Jeff Brom since Ole Miss is playing Louisville in game 1 in Nashville? We got Trinidad Chambliss against Jeff Brom. Jeff Brom played quarterback at Louisville.
Yep.
Then went on to have a super successful career as a head coach. He actually won at Western Kentucky and Purdue, which nobody does. And now he's been winning in Louisville. And there you go. I think we'll stay right down from the Yum Center. That's your KFC deal.
Love that.
Yeah, you do.
Love the Yum Center.
Can you believe I just pulled that?
That's pretty good.
Yeah?
Isn't it a collective?
How do you feel about that?
Is it a collective?
What?
The Yum folks? Are they KFC?
Well, they're
Taco
KFC.
Bell?
Yeah. I don't know what all they are.
Okay, yeah.
But it's the Yum Center or something. Because I walked by it in the morning last year when we were waiting to go out to do the barrel pick
right
at Elijah Craig, Heaven Hill. And I went in a day early. Remember, I met our friend Mark. I should be able to remember his name.
Stoops.
Huh?
Stoops.
No, Mark the winemaker, who was in here. And he's got the building in Louisville, Kentucky that's a bourbon bar. And he invited me to it. He's had like 100 wines rated at 99.
Mark Carter.
Carter Cellars.
That's it.
So he was in our studio, and then he bought, even though he's tied into Northern California, he bought this unbelievable building downtown in Louisville, not far from the Yum Center. And I got to go see him the day before all my Elijah Craig guys flew in town.
Nice.
And we drank he's gone from wine. He's still doing great wine. And he's probably top 10 winemaker in the world the last 40 years. But his bourbon club, it's a private club. That's what it is. It's not a bourbon bar. Right. It's a bourbon club. And he invited me up there, and we had a really good time in downtown. It looked like George Street. It's got that exposed brick.
Like that.
And these beautiful lockers for the members, lots of brass and like I said, hardwood floors, and really, really nice spot. If you can find it, you wouldn't know if you were walking by it. So you got to know kind of where you're going. Then he just opened the door and welcomed me in, which was pretty awesome. Yeah. So that's my rambling on I'm going to basketball country / bourbon country / horse racing or horse breeding country. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the horse breeding game.
I may.
It ain't, I hear it's cheap.
Nothing to it.
Just hop on in.
That's expensive.
Get you a horse.
That's expensive. Like, it gets expensive real fast.
They spend so much money on those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I sat down one night in 2014 when we had dinner with Gary Danielson and the CBS crew the night before that game in 2014 in Starkville. And they had rented out the back of the guest room. And I sat down beside this guy who was a petroleum engineer at Mississippi State. And he had left in like 1970 to go to Houston, Texas.
Nice.
And his family's in the horse business. And he had just shipped his horse over to Europe.
Oh.
And as he was telling me that, I was thinking, how much does that cost?
God bless.
To show that horse in Europe or ride that horse in Europe, whatever. Good Lord.
I mean, those things.
And that wasn't his first time.
I mean, you can just to buy one, you're spending 6 figures plus.
Right.
I mean, well into
it. What does it cost to ship horses overseas? Anybody got a guess? Here, the Dancing Rabbit golf text line is 601-885-3776. If we have any equestrian insiders listening, it's powered by Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, 601-885-3776. We're excited. In the third hour, we're going to talk food. Joe Craven will join us, owner of Walker's Drive-In. Derek Emerson sold it to Joe Craven.
Right.
They're tied together, though. And Walker's Drive-In is, people have known about it forever. And it's, Derek took it to another level, and that was cool to have Derek Emerson. We're doing this. We're spotlighting and highlighting Jackson city limit chefs and restaurants. And so Joe Craven with Walker's Drive-In will join us at 9:30 on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line.
I'll get 2 venti. I go, to Starbucks. I get 2 venti of the pipe with 2 shots in them. So black eye in both. That's what I come in with. That's how I start the day. So.
Holy Mary Olzab. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Your delicious breakfast biscuits are brought to you by Martin's Market in Livingston. It's in the front. Martin's in Livingston is in the back. Martin's Market has a great select grab and go breakfast biscuits. Super fresh, hot, delicious. Martin's Market in Livingston. And then don't forget that they've got a great selection of steaks that you can grab for the house. Joseph and the team, I mean, they are phenomenal. And I'm talking tomahawks, fillets, ribeyes, you name it. Martin's Market for steaks. Also, again, breakfast biscuits to go. This is 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. And we'll have Joe Craven on at 9:30. The new owner of Walker's Drive-In. Excited about that. We had Derek Emerson on Friday. That was fun. Derek owns Little Effie and Masa Mesa, which I went to on Friday. I had their blackened redfish taco with the hard shell. It's redfish Diana, and it was delicious. They do these smoked black beans with it. It's in the Eastover district. We'll be showcasing, highlighting Jackson Culinary because we are the culinary show of choice in the SEC. And 2 of them that you want to hit in the Eastover district, Masa Mesa. And if there would have been more people with me, I would have ordered more. The bartender told me they've got about 5 different burgers. Bartender told me their burgers were the best he's ever had. So that's Masa Mesa in the Eastover district. It was good to have Derek on. He sold Walker's Drive-In to Joe Craven. Joe Craven will join us at 9:30. And we'll be rolling through. Let me see what I've got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more, or 6 more. 6 more chef restaurant tours. It could, in fact, we've got one that owns a bakery. So there's unbelievable food in the Jackson City limits. We want you to try it and celebrate it. Y'all know I say this all the time, and I know you get tired of it. But those of you, because I've lived in both, I've lived in Jackson for years and years and years, and I've lived in Madison now for years. But for those of you in Madison, Flowood, Brandon, wherever, Clinton, you're missing out if you don't go into Jackson and enjoy the food. Amazing restaurants and chefs and small little places and bakeries and, everything from Hickory Pit to Masa Mesa to Rowan's and Manship and many others in between. So we'll be, who texted me? The chef from Manship. She texted me yesterday. She had been busy, which I get. They had a huge catering order or something, and she's going to come on here soon. So I'm looking forward to that. I did go by the Manship. I'm on my own culinary tour because if we're going to partner with Jackson on this, then not Jackson Meadows, the city, but I'm partnered with Jackson every day on the show. But if we're going to do this, not that I'm in Jackson all the time, almost daily, but I got to go through and try everything again. So last week I smashed a cheeseburger at Rowan's. I had gumbo at the Manship, and I had the blackened redfish taco at Masa Mesa in the Eastover district. And I'm trying to think what else. Wendy and I went to Bravo yesterday for brunch. There was some other place I went to last week that Jackson and I were talking about. Anyway, we've got great restaurants on the show all over the state, and we've never been in a better culinary boom, and there's only more coming. But we're lucky. From Thai to American and everything in between, we've got great food. And from absolute dive bars, which is really what drove and built the show, to more of a fine dining, which is totally different now than 1984 when you actually had to wear a blue blazer to Fisherman's Wharf or wherever the hell you were going. But, I remember being a kid and we were always going to Commanders, and you had to shuffle in there at 9. You didn't know where you were. You had stuff all over your face from whatever you were eating prior to in the car, and you had
Right.
a blazer on to go watch them do, you know, whatever, creme brulee or bread pudding and among other dishes on the table.
Did you get a
I mean,
jacket?
beside the table, which, by the way, I know most everybody's done it a lot, but you know, back then in 1983, dude, that was big living. Somebody coming to the table and firing up some fire and cooking something in front of you when you were 9 years old. You were like, what the hell?
Yeah, look at hibachi restaurants.
A year later in 1984, I'm eating escargot in Washington, D.C. What is going on here?
Ah,
What?
like that.
I'm eating snails?
Ugh.
Yeah. No, they're fabulous.
Yeah, they are. I do
When
like
we go to Kessler, I'm ordering escargot.
I'll eat it.
for
I like
you.
it. I'm good with that. I'm good with escargot.
There's plenty of butter in it,
Yeah.
and you'll love it.
Oh, wait, is there a big difference between that and a scallop?
A snail and a scallop,
Oh,
yes.
I mean, like I know the actual like thing, but I mean when cooked.
Yes.
Okay, there is big. They're not both just slimy.
A lot of people would describe them as slimy.
Okay, so
yes.
the texture is.
But you've got a breaded, almost croissant type deal on top of your escargot.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Word. Well, I like
And
scallops.
that was not a good
They're slimy.
description, but that was what I could come up with right now.
Let me see these things.
You know,
Do you call them?
first of all, and by the way,
all,
Derek Emerson's coming back on the show. We did not know, and that I was mad at myself. I did not know that his dad was the photographer for Michael Jackson
Yeah.
in the 80s. So again, I'm a Michael Jackson kid. You know, right when I was getting to be 10 years old, he became the biggest thing in the world.
Right.
In 5 seconds. All right. For some of you, it was the Stones or the Beatles, or fast forward, whatever it was for Jackson's age. But Michael Jackson, when I was 10 years old, became the biggest star in the world. Derek Emerson's dad was Michael Jackson's photographer, and on one of his albums, he did that photo.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one. It wasn't Beat It, but it was
No.
one of them.
But he was with Mike from Beat It On. That's when he started.
That's
1982.
right. Okay. And then he mentioned, oh man, I hate that I didn't write it down because we were standing up in the middle of the studio
They
by
just got to
then.
come back in. Enjoy.
But there were two or
Feels
three
good.
other bands that if I said them, you would know their name. He grew up in L.A. before going to Meridian with his grandparents and ending up here. Thank God he did, because he's part of an amazing culinary scene that has grown the last 35 plus years here in the Jackson and Jackson metro area. But we will have him back on because I have to have Michael Jackson stories. And it's Joe Cravens with an S.
Yeah.
And
Not
so-
the Weber State coach who's really good back in the day.
Ah,
He was a really good
they
basketball
made
coach.
made some NCAA tournaments. I think in hoops.
That's right.
Are they in the Midwest?
Is that what you count it?
Where,
Yeah.
What are they? Indiana-ish? Ohio-ish?
They are. Let's see. I believe it is Indiana. I'll give you just a sec. Weber State is in Utah.
Okay, that's not the Midwest.
Is it not? Is that Pac-12?
Well, it was.
They don't exist. Yeah.
They don't exist now. I mean, they put some teams back together, but come on.
Do they have two teams? Don't they have a couple of teams? Like,
Well, they got. I can't remember who all they put together, Jackson. Maybe Fresno State, Oregon State, Washington State, San Diego State. I can't remember who's leaving and who's not from that UNLV Boise conference of the Mountain West. But there's some stuff going on out there, but I can't
Gonzaga.
remember.
You nailed
Yeah,
the majority of
that'll be basketball only.
Yeah.
Okay.
You nailed the majority of them. San Diego State.
Hey, the Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Southern Ag Credit, financing life outside the city limits. Southern Ag Credit.com, located right here in Ridgeland.
We're gonna give Daddy the Rain Man suite. You dig that? We're going to Vegas, Mike.
Vegas! You think we get there by midnight?
Money, we're gonna be up 500 by midnight.
Yeah! Vegas!
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
Show ESPN 1059 The Zone. We're brought to you by the Golden Moon Casino on the property of Pearl River Resort. Inside the Golden Moon, you had the Vegas-style sports book. Bartu and I were there last week. We had a great time. It's a wonderful place to enjoy football season and golf and the sports book and table games in Phillip M's. Geyser Falls is still open for another 5 weeks or so. PearlRiverResort.com. This is 1059 The Zone ESPN. Got a couple of audio drops that we're going to land here with you. Bartu was with us last week. That was a ton of fun. The feedback from y'all was great. He cracks y'all up. He's crazy. And the texts were awesome all week on kind of Bartu and his craziness, which is fun. We're always looking for another angle or some, nuggets or information, metrics, which his analytics to tell the story of maybe the who, what, where, and why on your team or your coach. And then we got all the coaches last week. They all made, an appearance at SEC Media Days. Golding and Levy. And who knew that a team and a coach could win SEC Media Days? I kid you not. And that's amazing to me. And I mean, none of what happened last week has anything to do with what could happen on the field. However, it was fun to hear from all 16 or most of them head coaches. I'm not sure anybody was really listening to like Clark Lee. But, maybe they were.
Maybe Pavia gave him a little juice, extended juice.
Pavia got cut last week from the Ravens. We'll see what happens with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a guy that goes to the Canadian Football League and plays for 10 years.
No doubt. Yeah, you're probably right.
And just hurts people's feelings. Or maybe the UFL. Yeah. I don't know. But to me, he's a guy that I wouldn't think is going to throw in the towel. Now, I would think if he played his cards right, and I'm assuming he did, after he gives this run of football, and again, who knows? He may find another NFL team where he can be a backup. But if it's not the Canadian Football League eventually or the UFL or whatever, I would think he could get in with the Vanderbilt Commodore alum who has a big private equity firm. And considering he's the most successful player, he may not be the best. Jay Cutler may be better because as an NFL player, he was a legitimate starter in the NFL. But as the best player on the field to lead Vanderbilt to a 10-2 record, and the year before that, beating Alabama and embarrassing them in Nashville, and running out the clock on them by running the football, in which Diego was one of them, but also that tailback went through Bama's defense, like Derrick Henry running against seventh graders. I would think Diego Pavia, former Vanderbilt QB, will be just fine. Now, he made some people mad a little bit later in his career. What was the big brouhaha? I can't even remember.
He just, he went, he shouldn't have been. I think he had.
Was it during the combine or was it even back in the season?
I think it was. Was it not a Senior Bowl?
Was it the Senior Bowl
where he was down yonder and decided to go have a little time at the pub?
Was that it? He went to a bar.
That was one thing. Well, remember.
Oh, God forbid, because no Ole Miss or Mississippi State players have ever been to a bar.
Right. It was more of the.
What was it?
Him filming or somebody was they were trying to take a picture of him and he grabbed the phone and smashed it. That didn't help him. That might have been the second incident. He had a couple.
Okay. So he's
gotta grow up a little bit.
But I don't think he's burned enough bridges. My point in this, I think he could be on TV too.
Oh.
You don't think so?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I need to hear. I need to hear him. Like, does he have more of the New Mexico?
Oh, it was the Heisman thing. That's what I was trying.
Oh,
the Heisman
yeah.
thing ticked people off.
Well, yeah.
Here's an award and trophy that has been devalued
So much.
beyond not quite our dollar since Richard Nixon, but has been devalued. Good Lord. That's what it was.
Yes.
And people got to pearl clutching on that, but I can't. We'll have to look up exactly what he said.
Sore loser.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he was in the club afterwards doing the talking to Mendoza and whatnot through a sign.
Okay.
Through a Bible session sign. Get out of here.
Okay. That's what it
Very
was.
Johnny-like.
Okay.
That's a page.
Yeah, it was Manziel-like.
Straight out of Johnny's playbook.
But those guys, that's what also drives them to be as successful as Diego Pavia was on the field.
Highly.
He's a street guy. He's the guy that's like, "What? I'll play you on this asphalt. Find what at 4-on-4, 6-on-6, 8-on-8 in football, or wherever you want to go. It can be broken glass on the street, but if you want a ball, then I'm ready."
Be the most dangerous arena football league player ever.
Now, that's a great. I went to an arena football
They're
game
so
in
lit.
Phoenix, Arizona in 1997.
Whoa.
And it was, by the way, the Suns arena was packed.
Was it thumping? Oh,
And it was like a 56-54 game.
It's lit.
And it was one of the most entertaining experiences I've ever had. Now, is arena football still around?
Yes.
I don't know that it is.
It may be overseas.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's here.
So now you got the UFL, which Lugan Bill calls, right? Isn't that where he chugged the beer and he told us about it a couple months ago?
Oh, God.
You have the Canadian Football League that was able to make it. And so there are some opportunities for him to pull a 6-figure check and play football. He may try to land on one more or two more NFL teams to see if he can find a spot as the backup and then go from there.
Yeah, the major North American leagues obviously are CFL and NFL. The alternative in spring leagues are UFL and IFL, the indoor football league.
Okay.
I don't know if that's their new iteration.
Okay.
But the arena football was tight. It was so exciting.
Well, I can tell you this. I could not believe how good the product was.
Right.
And it was fun.
Kurt Warner was out there slinging dimes.
Yeah, before he made it big. Bagging groceries, then arena football or something like that.
Yeah.
And then made the NFL and won a Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
I know.
It was founded 40 years ago. How about that? 1986.
Arena football? Okay, so I called it a decade plus in. I can't remember who Phoenix was playing that day. I should. Even back then, this is before we went crazy over Oregon's uniforms.
Right.
Even back then, they had really cool uniforms.
Okay. Jim Foster, who is the former exec of the NFL and the USFL, he's the one that created Arena Football League.
Okay, that makes sense.
That was smart.
That makes sense. So they made it for a little while.
I think they had their own developmental league.
That surprises me. Not sure what that exactly was. I find it hard to believe that they had that much capital to get that done. I would think it took everything you could just to have whatever you had at 8 arena football leagues or whatever it was.
Didn't they used to?
But it was packed. I remember we could get a beer, which was a big deal then because here and in the Sun Belt, you couldn't get a beer, right? I guess you could at the Saints games. But anyway,
right.
I remember we got a beer, and we were like, we're drinking a beer watching a football game.
That's tight.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then, oh my gosh. Didn't they start or didn't they have it to where, on a fly 40, where you know how you start running before you start the 40 time? Didn't they they did that on the snaps? Weren't they allowed to start in the backfield and take off running? And
yeah.
Then as
I
long
think
as you
so.
snapped it right, you were on sides, you were good.
Yeah.
Love that. They were burning everybody.
And I want to say there was a Mississippi State or Ole Miss or both player in that game, but I'm going to have to go back and retrieve that and check it out.
I mean, look, the quarterbacks were making 200 when they're at their peak.
Wow.
When the AFL was at its peak.
Okay.
They were, 200 ain't bad.
But Diego Pavia can do new media.
Yes.
He can do a podcast.
Oh, yeah, he would.
And
What are the chances he links with Johnny?
that'd be incredible.
I think
If
they'll
you
do
had
it.
Diego Pavia and Johnny Manziel, if they were disciplined enough to do a show 3 days a week,
Right.
it could be really good and entertaining. Now, they'd have to stay away from being silly all the time.
Right.
But I think it's got some legs.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I think they could do
They're both,
How long of a podcast?
they could do an hour a day.
Hours.
3 days,
That's plenty.
3 days a week.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would work. Work all right. Didn't the New Orleans have the New Orleans Voodoo?
Yes.
Tom Benson. Did he buy
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
I assume Benson
Sure.
probably did.
Yeah, he did. Dang. They played all the way up until
He went from car dealerships where they thought they were making money to buying the Saints and making his family billionaires.
Bills.
And now he owns the Pelicans.
That's right.
I mean, he's owned the Pelicans for a while,
Right.
but good Lord.
The AFL was hot, man. They were averaging, 13,000 in the stands for a little bit, and then 2009 came and they set out the year, and then it just dwindled. They didn't stop until 2020.
Really?
They played the 19 season. They only had 6 teams.
Okay.
In 2011, they had 18 teams in there.
Yeah, that's too many.
That's a lot of AFL teams.
But it worked. I'm just telling you, in 1997,
I would
Arena
love that.
League football in Phoenix was hopping.
Hey, it had, yeah.
The Suns arena was banging.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I wonder how big their fields were. They weren't.
I went in May. So they were playing arena football in May.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder how big those fields were. They weren't 100, right? No way.
No. This is no. They were
50
not.
yards long.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's so tight.
Yeah.
I wish I could see one of those. That'd be cool. 2 8-yard end zones.
It would be perfect for you,
No doubt.
since you're scrappy do or whatever, because there's so much going on every play.
Yeah. He's got a whole bunch.
It's wild. It's wild. To me, that model could continue to work. I hate they got zapped by COVID, but a lot of the smaller leagues, a lot of the European basketball got zapped because, there was a lot of stuff like that. Just leagues that barely were hanging on year to year but could still make it.
Right.
Once you miss a year, you can't get it back. You want to drop the bar two? All right. Dave Bartu tied in Dan Mullen and Lane Kiffin last week, and the impact that they've had on college football since 2010. This is Bartu on Lane Train and Dan Mullen. All right, Diamond Dave. One thing that we brought up last night, I don't remember if it was you or John. I think y'all were in a back and forth, which is fun. Coaching unicorns. Were we talking about Mullen?
We were talking about Mullen,
Okay.
about that,
Okay.
and how his closest guy,
Yes.
right? Because we went, for everybody who should tune into the YouTube channel. You and I did almost 2 hours yesterday,
God, we did.
nonstop, and. So one of the things that the database allows me to do is looking at coaches in a way I've never been able to on the fly. And we talked the unicorn, and what we talked about at the YouTube channel show yesterday had to do with coach effect and how Dan is one of only 2 guys. So since 2010, Dan Mullen is one of 2 head coaches to improve the coach effect in 3 consecutive stops. So when Dan showed up at Mississippi State, he improved it over the guy before him. Then his coach effect at Mississippi State compared to Florida, it was better at Florida. And albeit 1 year at UNLV, that 1 year at UNLV was better than Florida entire time. So he was plus coach effect, 3 consecutive stops at 3 consecutive programs. There's only one other guy since 2010. And this is why coaching is so hard, and college football is in general, is there isn't a guy that has gone up outside of Dan Mullen. There's one other guy that has gone improve. And that was Lane Kiffin.
And both of them coached in the state of Mississippi at Rivals.
Nuts.
That's crazy.
Right? And it is. And then you think about Lane and all of the trials and tribulations he's gone through as a head coach. He still improved. He had a negative coach effect before FAU at USC, but he improved USC over what was there before.
Yeah.
And then he gets to FAU, and obviously, after the first year, boom, takes off. Ole Miss, after the first year, boom, takes off even more. So it is extremely rare to have a head coach be able to do that, not just at one place. It takes a good coach to go from good to great and maintain it, like Dan did at Mississippi State, like Lane did at Ole Miss and FAU, and so forth. But to do it in 3 consecutive places, there's nobody else in the FBS that has done it.
Since 2010.
Since 2010, 16
Dan Mullen
years.
and Lane Kiffin, one who coached at Mississippi State, one at Ole Miss. That is, what are the odds that they come through this state and both coach at different SEC schools within the state of Mississippi? Bartu and Jay Meadows. I mean, it's crazy. When you threw that out yesterday, I went, I can't even believe this. I mean, so much of football, pro and college, runs through this state, just players and different things. But that's wild. So, yeah, 2 of the coaching unicorns in the state of Mississippi, without a doubt.
In college football, in all of college football.
Lane Kiffin and Dan Mullen.
Yeah. Now,
And both will always be a part of this state. They will always be part of the fabric. Their fingerprints will always be here. They will be mentioned forever in some way, shape, or form, whether people like them or don't like them.
Yeah.
They had an impact,
Yeah,
though.
look at the economic
now,
impact.
Now, as far as their hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of impact on Starkville and Oxford, that's insane. What Dan and Dak did, what Lane and Corral/Dart and Trinidad did, good gosh. And it was at the right time with new media and more access and more streaming and all that. You get every single game, even when you play La Monroe and Wofford. So it's kind of crazy. Bo Bounds, Dave Bartu with you. Coaching unicorns in this state. I start with Lane 1 and Dan 1A, but they're the 2 best ever. And we also talked about how player evaluation has never been more important. It's an eye roll with some of the college football fans, but with the portal and you got to go so fast. I referenced it last night, and Bartu's talked to a million coaches over the years. I'll never forget what Tony Hughes told me about Dan Mullen. And Tony coached at Ole Miss, Southern Miss, and Mississippi State and had a ton of success and was with I don't know how many winning teams. But he said, I've never seen anybody in the film room that can turn on film and say, yeah, he can play. Now, he's going to play a different position, but he can play. Once we get him up here and he gets 5 meals a day and gets in the weight room, da-da-da-da-da. Dan just had and Kiffin's a hell of an evaluator, too. I mean, Quinshon Judkins, we could go on and on, but there's a running back out of Alabama that Bama nor Auburn wanted, and Lane took him, and he ended up being a superstar. There's plenty more.
Well, you look at player development, look at Cignetti.
Right.
Do we have any better? Because I don't think a lot of people realize Kurt Cignetti kind of built some rosters at Alabama for Nick Saban, too. Just, kind of like, maybe some of the best teams
ever
this century.
Yeah.
Then
left to go to IUPA. Unbelievable. Then Elon, then James Madison. Dave Bartu's in the house. Check us out on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. All right, that was Bartu. Isn't that wild that Kiffin and Mullen are the only 2 coaches since 2010 to improve coach effect at 3 different stops? Wild. And both of them end up coaching in the state at rival schools. It's insane. When he told me that, I went, what? And now once you think about it and you start to roll through what the 2 of them did, you're like, oh, that makes sense. But Lane and Mullen will always be tied in here because of because they were here and had success. Guys that come through and don't do it. Rick Ray and Matt Luke, people are, you're not going to do any kind of deep dive there. but the impact from Kiffin and Mullen is just extraordinary. And here they are still coaching. Of course, Lane's at the big boy.
Is this where they both jumped off? And wouldn't this be considered both of their like platform places where they just jumped smooth? I mean, that Lane had done he'd coached before, obviously. Dan had coached before. Well, he never had coached before, but this was their coming out party. It was in Mississippi for both of them.
Well, Lane had already had a coming out party at Southern Cal as the head coach.
Yeah.
So he was a big, known name. I mean, Mullen got a little bit of buzz and love right at the end, basically before Greg Byrne interviewed him. But that last season, I guess, Dan got a little bit out from underneath Urban's shadow, but that was still before we were really talking about offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators.
When did that happen? Like,
Shortly thereafter.
Okay.
But yeah, the last 15 years, we've done more of that as Kirby Smart was at Alabama for several years, and Dan was under Urban for 4 years as the play caller in Florida, and so on. We've had guys like Brent Venables and of course Lane and Sark both went through Alabama as offensive coordinators, but we weren't doing that. That wasn't the talkie and the scuttlebutt within SEC restaurants and bars talking about OCs and DCs. And now we know what a premium landing a good play caller is.
Was there like someone that was just that good of an OC or DC then at that time where everyone was like, all right, maybe we need to start talking about these folks?
The first guys that I remember that got some love, Mark Richt went from Florida State to Georgia. He was Bobby Bowden's OC. Mickey Andrews was with Bobby Bowden for 25 years, maybe longer, at Florida State as defensive coordinator. And Bud Foster was with Frank Beamer for every bit of 15 years, maybe more, as a defensive coordinator. But those guys didn't leave for whatever reason. I don't really know. But those were some of the coordinators. It wasn't many, though, man. Bob Stoops kind of became a name under Spurrier and landed the Oklahoma job. This is late 90s. Few and far between. And a lot of time, I'll hold that. ESPN 105.9 The Zone, driven by your next spray and bedliner lift kits. Rick's Pro Truck in Gluckstadt, RPT. Trucks live here. ricksprotruck.com.